What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from AlexEFE, and today we have another deck profile. So I know I haven't made one in quite a while, but we are definitely back. I have a whole new kind of like recording setup, things of that nature, so I'm very excited to kind of jump into this. It was kind of the previous meta was either I decided to play the game or I recorded. Just kind of didn't feel right putting out content without actually playing the meta, but I have been able to play a little bit as of late, and I definitely am enjoying it a whole lot. I like standard where it's at, kind of. I like the new things that are coming out. Obviously some issues here and there, but maybe we'll discuss that in another video. But I did want to hop into my favorite deck of the format. We are going to be looking at Aelquilibra today. So with set 5 coming out, we obviously have some new support for this deck, but the previous iteration of it in the last meta was also really fun to play as well. I had mentioned that it is very simple to play, very easy overall. I think that if you are somebody who enjoys Dragon Empire, just large columns, kind of swinging, pace of the game kind of being a little bit slower overall, I feel like this deck is definitely the one for you. We're going to get into the deck profile in just a second, but if you are interested in purchasing any of the cards you see here today, we do have a TCG player affiliate link down in the description below. Absolutely no cost to you. You can help shop through that link to help support the channel. Definitely appreciate it, and if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. But with all that good stuff out of the way, let's hop right into it with the ride line. Going with the in-theme grade 0 for this one, just super easy, just nothing really to say more about that. You need a grade 0 to start off with, but getting into it, I am going with the grade 1 from the ride line. Pops out soul charges when ridden upon by the grade 2. Very easy to kind of get into and just create that board presence later, a little bit earlier, I mean, and then later into the game. The second ability actually matters, and let's take a minute here just to explain this overcharge ability. So again, if you've played this in the previous set, you know this. Skip forward a little bit, but basically all these units, or a lot of the in-theme kind of units in this deck, do have something called the overcharge ability, which when chosen, they do something extra. A lot of them also just get this extra 10k. So when your Vanguard chooses, we'll go over that skill in just a second, it gets a certain amount of power plus an extra 10k from itself, just making the columns in this deck like absolutely stupid. You get such big columns for like absolutely nothing, which feels really, really good. Next up here with the grade 2, pretty simple. When this is rode upon by a grade 3 with Aelquilibra in its card name, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to one grade 3 or less card from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom deck in any order, and if you reveal the card with the overcharge ability, you soul charge 1. So soul charge is pretty big in this. You definitely need to, because you're going to be spamming a lot of soul in general through your Vanguard's ability, and just in general playing the deck, you'll see there's cards that just do it. It is also just nice to maybe ditch something, you know, something that you wanted to use, and then boom, search the top 3, you get something else instead. You know, it just feels pretty decent overall, and it gets you that soul charge, which you really, really do need. And then finally, Aelquilibra over here. Aelquilibra itself, the act skill is on Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, you soul charge 2, soul blast 2, choose 3 of your rear guards, and they get an additional 5k until the end of turn. And then if you chose 2 or more rear guards with the overcharge ability, you draw a card. This guy gets 10k until the end of turn. It's over, what is it? Divine skill is act on Vanguard Circle. Also, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counter +1, choose 2 of your rear guards. They get 5k until the end of turn. And if your opponent's damage zone is 4 or less cards, you basically ping them 1 damage and negate that that trigger by 10k. So if they hit the over trigger, you know, it doesn't negate that. You know, it's kind of unfortunate. It did happen to me one time, which was very unfortunate actually. But aside from that, just, you know, pinging your opponent 1 more, putting up these ridiculous numbers, the ability to multi-attack, the ability to kind of draw and last a little bit longer into the game. This deck kind of does it all. So without further ado, let's hop right into the main deck now. Let's clear that off the table and get started. Starting off with the main deck, we are having 3 more copies of the Persona Ride itself. Very simple, very easy, you know, just one Persona Ride. The numbers, like I said, in this deck are absolutely nuts. You always want to be fueling your soul, and a Persona Ride is a way to do that as well. We just went over the Divine skill as well. I would say that, honestly, on your second ride, don't be afraid to ping that Divine skill. Even if you've aggressed early and like you really want to push your opponent, you can still use that Divine skill a little bit earlier, but I always say like the second ride is typically your goal, even if you've gone second. I think that's typically how I like to play it, but again, every game, every situation is a little bit different. Next up here too, another card that I think personally you could trim this down to 3, but it's just so good. Every time it pops up, it's never not good, like, and it's never not valuable in my opinion. There's so many things in this game that kind of just take your board, wipe it out, just so much what do they call it, retiring and just control in general that they put on your board. But this over here is going to be to equilibrize the I don't know how to say I don't know what they're trying to say there, the scales of the world. So play this with counter +1. If you have a Vanguard with Aelquilibra in its card name, you choose up to 2 grade 3 or less cards, different card names from the overcharge ability, with the overcharge ability from your drop, column to rear. Everything pretty much has it. This is a very tribal deck. This is very, like, it wants to do what it's doing within theme. We run everything with the overcharge ability. I think just the ability to get this back, pitching cards early, you have one of these in hand, boom, just go and search whatever you want from your drop. Like, you've just kind of had your ride line activate for free. So I think this is, you don't really run through too many counterblasts in this deck. I think you always typically have enough for this. I think it's very good. Just a way to countercharge also in the deck. I think running that at max copies is not bad at all. If you want to trim that down, you definitely can as well. Finishing up for the grade 3s over here, I am running 3 of our Panzerschreck Dragon. A lot of people cut this from the set, and I think that is just wrong. I know that there's another card in here that does use the Energy Blast, but you can pretty much use all the energy you want, and you should be good throughout the whole game because we're not running a certain card. I will show you why, and I'll tell you why. That kind of throws off the whole game, but if you're going first, I'll actually go over his skill first. So when this unit attacks, if this unit was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Aelquilibra in its card name, you get to Energy Blast 3, and this guy gets 15k until the end of battle, and at the end of battle, draw a card, retire this unit. So your Vanguard gives an extra 5k, and then boom, on top of that, this gets an extra 15k. So this is going to be basically a 30k column, which is 33k column, which is absolutely insane, right? Because yeah, 5 and then the 15, making that 33. Just absolutely nuts to kind of put that pressure on your opponent, especially if they're at grade 2. Like, you can still absolutely do that. Retiring itself gets rid of itself, so there's not targeting for later, makes them kind of attack your Vanguard if you're not trying to get counter-starved, whatever. But basically being able to just pop itself, board clear, and then go for a draw is very big in my opinion. And by the time you're on grade 3, even if you've gone first, you should be at 6. So you could choose to either use one of these. I wouldn't use the next card up, and I'll explain why. It just isn't as impactful until your Persona Ride turn. So seeing this early is pretty important, which is why I'm still including it at 3. I think that drawing cards, getting you to the late game, if you can draw enough cards, I feel like this deck has the momentum and carry through like any point of the game. Stabilizing is like the big issue. Not issue, but more so your goal, and this really helps you get there. So I think cutting this is a big mistake. I'm still running it at 3. It was 4 in the previous format. Next up here too, our multi-attackers. So we definitely need these in order to kind of just make sure that we have pressure throughout the game. So this is going to be Drag Raider Shalhoub. So Shalhoub during your turn, if you have 3 or more units with the overcharge ability, gets 5k. It's nice that it doesn't have to be chosen to get that extra 5k. So it's at least typically always, I'll say, 99% of the time swinging with that extra 5k, 15k base. Overcharge, basically once per turn, when your Vanguard attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, if this unit was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Aelquilibra in its card name, Energy Blast 3, stand this unit, get an extra 10k until the end of turn. 10k gets over triggers, 10k gets itself really big. Also, if you choose your this guy once with your let's say you're on a Persona Ride turn, right? You choose him with your Vanguard's ability, it gets an extra 5k. It's a 20k, 30k base. You can also choose him with your extra Divine skill, so that makes him a 35k base. If you're swinging twice on a Persona Ride turn with like 2 of these in the front row, it's just massive. It really, 2 35k swings to start off before a Vanguard swing is pretty big after just being pinged to damage. Like, I really think that once you can get to this point in the game, like, you should kind of have control in general. Restanding with that extra 10k is, making it a 45k column plus with whatever is boosting. You're easily, there's so many times you hit over 60k, and really it's PG or GG at that point. Having that 5 attack deck in a deck that just has such insane columns is really nice overall. I feel like the only kind of downside is it doesn't have like a ton of card draw in general, but some of the newer cards really do help us kind of mitigate that. And the chief one being over here, Drag Raider Badilla. So Badilla is really nice. This is the new card that came out of set 5. This is like the new update to the deck, and really it does everything the deck kind of wanted it to do. You were able to recycle a lot but not dig previously, as outside of maybe the ride line. But when this guy's placed on rear guard from hand, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up the 1 card, the different card name from this unit, and the overcharge ability, or up to one of the order cards as well. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle the deck. If you reveal the card, choose a card from your hand and then put it into your soul, or discard it. So you can then discard stuff. You could feel your soul if you need to. You can then use the order. It just kind of does, like I said, everything that you want to do. Search a little bit deeper into the deck. I feel like, this helps you kind of just find the pieces that you might have been missing. That one extra thing to get you that extra soul or whatever it might have been. It's just very easy. No cost to that really, except for putting that, either discarding or putting it into your soul. The overcharge ability continues on rearguard circle. If this guy was chosen by the ability of our Aelquilibra, you get an extra 10k. So again, just kind of keeping in theme with that overcharge ability. Need this out of 4 of. It's just, such a good card. It really does kind of add a whole nother layer of dimension to this deck. I've seen this next card run at a little bit more, but through my play testing in general, I feel like at 2 of it's okay. If you want to cut down maybe one of the grade 3, bump this up, you could do that. Again, I think that seeing the grade 3 early is a little bit more important, but this guy is going to be, how do you say this, Beldesheisen Dragon or something like that. If you have 3 or more regards to the overcharge ability, this guy gets an extra 10k, making a 15k shield in a game that, again, where shield value is super sparse. If you can stabilize and get to the late game, like I said, you're going to be putting up power numbers that people just cannot contend with. This helps you get there and just insulate your deck a little bit more. It does have that overcharge ability also, getting itself that 10k. So if you want to choose this early game, it feels good. If you want to intercept with it, whatever, you know, just guard from end. A 15k shield is always great. So at 2 of, I like it right now. I'm not running any more of that. Next up here, I'm running 4 PGs. Honestly, you could swap one of the Elementarias in. Previous meta, I just felt like I always needed units. And for whatever reason, just in general, Stride decks weren't super popular or anything like that. So I just felt the 4 was a little bit nicer. You can, again, swap an Elementaria if you want to. It's not a big deal at all. But again, I just prefer to have units overall. For PGs, nothing really more to say about that. Do what you want with the Elementaria. I'm still running her at 4 of 2. Like, the ability to countercharge, there's so many things in here that basically get you resources through a counterblast. Let's take a look at it again. It's going to be this next card coming up. It's going to be our grade 3 order card right there. There's just a lot of different things. Plus our Vanguard does use a counterblast, so there are times where you need to actually have the countercharge just later into the game over and over using that grade 3 order card. It really sucks when you don't have anything for it, so it helps you kind of keep in pace. This is Drag Order target Farilza, I think that's how to say it. Overcharge ability when this unit boosts. If there was a unit chosen by your if this unit was chosen by Aelquilibra, it gets that 10k. End of the battle, if you did not countercharge, retire this unit and countercharge. So you can definitely do that and then keep yourself into the game a little bit longer. Again, I just like targets for the skill overall. Next up, this guy right here, again, came out last set as well. Drag Order Eodil, I think that's how to say it. When this guy is placed on rare, if you have only 2 or more units with the overcharge ability, counterblast 1, draw a card, and you soul charge 1. This is your draw engine in the deck. Again, this is why you need that counterblast. This, along with the other guy, the other grade 3 order, is the one that really keeps your deck kind of going, flowing, and just into the late game. That soul charge 1 does matter also, because by the time I think you're on your second ride, or second or third grade 3 ride, I forgot which one off the top of my head, you will actually need an extra soul charge at some point. Like if you whiff the ride line, you will need a soul charge, I think, to keep alive with that soul blast too. So very important to get this off at least once. Also, you don't need to have a grade 3 Vanguard for this, so if you have some damage early, you want to pop this off, and you have 2 other units, you've kind of flooded the board, go for it. You can always draw a soul charge and get that a little bit earlier, and it does have that overcharge ability where it gets that extra 10k. So again, columns are absolutely insane in this deck. I was running more of these last format, but I think with the new cards that we did get out of this last set, we are just running these 2 over here. It's going to be 2 of our Stealth Fiend Shenri. Very good card, again, to fuel your soul. You should automatically, or most of the time I want to say, except maybe in like a Leonore matchup or something else that want to really rush you down, you do have more regards than your opponent. On top of that, what is it, opponent's regard? Yeah, this opponent has 1 or less. Yeah, so we're not really retiring, but we do use the order card over and over. I'm screwing up, what was it, the Keter Sanctuary one. Oh my god, the dog, I forgot his name off the top of my head, but you basically put this into soul and draw a card. It gets 5k. Also just helps stack your Vanguard. I always put this behind Van typically because I want to swing really large with my other columns, but this still being a 13k is really good. Gets you that card draw, again, something to carry to the late game. Feels good early game too, if you want to pop this down. So 2 of those, and no problem at all. Let's get into the triggers now. One of our over trigger, again, I'm just using the Dragon Empire, just attacking again, feels good. It's only once per turn on your restander, so you can't like hit this and then go for the restand play. I am choosing to run 3 of our, what do you call them, the draw triggers over here. Draws really are not good in this format in general, but again, you need pieces and you need to kind of get to that late game. I think these kind of help you find those pieces and get you there. If you want to try fronts, go for it, but I've had a little bit more luck with the draw triggers overall, and some of our units do now give us a little bit more shield, so it helps us survive. 4 heals, just 4 basic ones. I haven't found the need to really go into the other ones. If you want, I think the restanding one could be okay at like a 1 of. There are some things that use crit, but in general, I think this is a fine choice as of right now. Then we are just rocking 8 crit in general. I just have banging ones in here because I couldn't find anything else. I don't typically like to use those, but yeah, nothing really too crazy with that lineup right there. And that is pretty much the deck profile itself. I don't think I've ever not come in top 4 when I'm using this deck, at locals at least. I really do enjoy it for this upcoming format. I think that it's super easy. If you want something that's like doesn't take a lot of thought, just, you know, kind of plays itself in a lot of different ways and feels very stable. I think this is a great choice, and personally I really love Dragon Empire, as you can probably tell right over here, but I think that it is a very good deck and very fun to play. So if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. Again, if you are interested in purchasing any of the cards you see here today, we do have a TCG Player affiliate link. Go use that. Help me out. Definitely appreciate it. If you guys do like the content, make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much. This is Alex from Alex CFE signing out.